Hello there. In this video I'm going to talk about using the tissue add-on to tessellate objects, and I'm going to show you how you can create something similar to the two pendants that are shown on the screen there. And we're going to do this in Blender using the Blender application template FluidDesigner for 3D printing. You can find the tissue add-on if you go to Google, and if you Google Blender and tissue add-on, you can download it and install it from there. So if we go to Blender with FluidDesigner up and running, what we want to do first of all is to go to Add Mesh, and we're going to add a plane. Now my default setting for the grid here is 20mm by 20mm, so if I set the radius in the panel on the left here to 10 millimeters, that will fill out my plane there as 20mm by 20mm basically, and it'll fill out the grid. And now what I want to do, in order to tessellate, we need two objects, so I'm going to add another mesh plane, and I'm going to change the radius of this to 2.5mm because I want a square which is 5 by 5, because I want to repeat this 4 by 4 times across my large plane. So if we select the large plane again and press the tab key to go into edit mode, if you just do W and subdivide, and if you do W and subdivide a second time, what I've basically done is broken the large plane up into smaller units there, which are the same size as the 5 by 5mm smaller plane on the right hand side there. So that small plane on the right hand side will fit into the large plane exactly 4 by 4 times. And notice that my grid on the large plane is also has got boxes in there which are 1mm by 1mm square. Now if I select the small plane and go into edit mode, I want to do W and subdivide here. Now I'm going to use the number of cuts in the panel on the left hand side here, so I'm going to change the number of cuts to 4, and what that does is it creates square boxes in the right hand plane there which I know the size of. They will all be 1mm square. I don't really want to make anything smaller than that because I want to be able to know that it's going to 3D print. If you go to 5, 6, certainly if you go to 7 and 8, you can't guarantee that every single element is going to print unless you're really careful. So I would recommend for beginners, stick to 4 or 3 or 2. Don't go mad over here on the right hand side. Okay, so once you've done that, you can come out of edit mode. Now I would recommend rotating this so that the red arrow, the x-axis, points vertically down. And what we're going to do is to tessellate the small plane at the bottom onto the large plane at the top. But really what we want to do is to create some sort of pattern, and to do that what we need to do is to go back into edit mode again, press A on the keyboard and select face selection, and we really need to delete some of these. So I'm going to go around here and I'm going to recommend deleting things symmetrically. So if I select all of those and press X on the keyboard and delete those faces, I've got a nice symmetrical object at the bottom there, and we're going to tessellate that onto the large square at the top. So come out of edit mode, hold down the shift key, highlight the large square, the large plane at the top, and in the panel on the left, provided you've got the tissue add-on selected, if you click create and tissue and tessellate. Now it's very important for 3D printing to tick this box that says merge duplicate vertices. So you do need to tick that box from the point of view of 3D printing, and then click OK. And if I press the tab key to go into edit mode, if you look in the bottom left hand corner of the large plane, you should see a replica of the pattern of the plane at the bottom there, the original plane. We've just replicated it, and we've actually replicated it 16 times. That's what we've done when we've tessellated it. Now if we want to make a slightly more interesting pattern than this, if we delete that, go back into the original one at the bottom, and this time what I'll do is I will delete those vertices, and notice I've kept my pattern symmetrical again. And if I hold down the shift key with the small plane highlighted and highlight the large plane and click tessellate again, that will replicate the pattern. And again, if we go into edit mode, you should see, if you look in the bottom left hand corner there, how this pattern has been replicated. It's exactly the same pattern in this orientation, and you can see it's been replicated 16 times. So once you're happy with the pattern that you've got, you can delete the small plane. Now you need to be a bit careful deleting the larger plane, the original one. Don't delete the one that says tessellation, delete plane. So X on the keyboard to delete that. Now we need to solidify this, and we can do that by opening up the Properties panel and go to Modifiers. And if we add a Solidify Modifier, and I tend to work to 2mm thick, so if I set the thickness at 2mm, and if I set the offset to 0, that will center it so that it's 1mm above the grid there and 1mm below, and you could tick high quality and even thickness as well, and then you can close down that Properties panel. Now to turn this into a pendant, what I can do is if I go to the object library and go to jewelry pendants and then click on there. Now I'm going to use this 25mm square pendant outline, so I select that one and click OK, and then if I just scroll the mouse towards me and click outside the yellow box, that will center what is essentially a curve in the middle of the screen there. So if I just go to View and Top View, and what we can do now is scale this down in size. Now it is very important when you scale this object, because this object is a curve. Oops, it is a curve. Go into Edit mode. So go into Edit mode and press A on the keyboard to highlight all the control points, and I'm going to switch off the snap and just scale it down until it overlaps. Okay, now as you can see there are some issues in the corner there that little bits are sticking out, but that's no problem. If I just go to View and Top View, now if I highlight the control point there on the right and the control point on the left, and I'll just switch the snap back on and just zoom in, if I pull the green arrow upwards, notice I can fill out the corners there. So I'm just going to go up to the top and just bring it back one. And then I can do the same with the control point on the bottom right there and the bottom left. Come down and then go back one, so it's all nice and even. And do the same with the control point at the top there and the bottom. Come out and come back one. And the same with the control points there. Go out. So by doing that, I've eliminated that bit of the mesh sticking out there. Now what I might want to do is, if I wanted to perhaps orientate it that way, if I go to View and Top View, if I open up my Properties panel again, I could rotate in the Z 45 degrees, rotate that one 45 degrees, so that's just reorientated the pendant. I now need a ring at the top, so if I go to Object Library, go to Jewelry Findings, and if I use this one here with the 2.5mm internal diameter hole and click OK, and just zoom in on that and just position it. I need to switch off the snap to position it, and OK. Now the cross section of that is slightly different from the pendant, so I quite often like to, if I hold down the Shift key and highlight the outline of the pendant and go to Tools, Object, Tools and Join, that will take on the same dimensions. Okay, so there's your pendant. Now if you wanted to personalize this, if you go to Object Library, I'm going to go to Harrington font, and I'll just choose the first letter of the alphabet here, it doesn't really matter. If I choose Harrington font A, sorry, and click OK, and again just scroll back and click outside of the box there and go to View and Top View, and I need to pull it up 1mm, so if I just switch on the snap, if I just pull it up 1mm, that's actually 2mm deep. All my objects are like that. And if I just go to View and Top View, perhaps if I switch off the snap, just pull it across to the left there so it fits more neatly on the pendant. I could resize it, but that's how you could actually personalize it. Now it's very important that you actually export this as an OBJ or STL file, and very important that you run it through NetFab Basic as well. So that's how you can do tessellating with the tissue add-on in FluidDesigner for 3D printing running under Blender. Thank you.